Welcome back, all my 40K fanatics out there. I'm DJ here with Tim's Nation to bring you my list preview for Lane and Mine's vehicle-on-vehicle battle that we'll be having later this evening. This list is not really the most competitive build, I would say. And there is a couple things I'm very interested to see how they perform. Some stuff that we haven't typically seen. And again, I apologize that some of the models, very few, I think it's 4 models in this list that aren't painted. But with all respects, I don't want to keep throwing the same models on the channel. I like to try to throw a variety out there because there's a lot of us out there who, we don't get an opportunity to get a bunch of games and try out some new units. And one of the things I like to try and bring with my content is a little bit of information. Like I said, the scientist, I guess you could say, in me, put the research out there so we can discuss it, talk about it, see what does work, what doesn't work, maybe some mistakes I made in the understanding of the rules, or the usage of the units, or using a unit in a way that maybe no one had ever thought of before. So with this list, I am slapping some stuff in there that we haven't seen on the table, and we'll see how it does. I tried to still keep some synergies going with it all around, and there are some of my favorites that I brought because, hey, we're bringing vehicles. All right, guys. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do turn on that bell for notifications. And with that being said, let's jump over to the list and talk about what we're bringing today. All right, here we go. Vehicles. This is the Necron vehicle list that I'll be facing off against Lane tonight. So we're going to start right off with the biggest and the most expensive and talk about him in a nutshell. We're going to start off with the one, the only, the Silent King. Yes, we are bringing Zarek because Zarek is a vehicle. I considered in this area taking the vault again, but we took the vault last week. And I considered running a monolith, but we have run a monolith on the channel already in 10th edition. So Zarek hasn't seen play. So I thought bringing him. Also, he has some unique synergies with some of the other units in my list. So I think he'll be interesting to bring. So all in all, he's got a mean profile. The 16 wounds, the 2 up save, then his 2 little buddies have 5 wounds themselves. He has a 4 up invulnerable save across the board too, so he's pretty durable. Now, some of the issues are his shooting. His range is only 24 inches, so I'm going to have to move him up the board and hope he doesn't completely get obliterated. We'll see how that works out for him. However, with the voice of the Triarch, he gets to pick one of 3 abilities. Now, for the most part, I think I'm going to be sitting on Farion of the Stars, which allows him to give reroll hits and wound rolls of 1 to units within 6 inches. This combined with the Doomstalkers, I'm really interested to see because I've had great success with the Doomstalkers. Now, being able to fish a reroll onto them could be really cool. Does this mean that Lane's going to pick the Doomstalkers instead of the Silent King to go after? We'll have to see how that plays out. And that might be the difference. Maybe the Doomstalkers draw enough attention that the King's able to just move to center field and get within range to start hitting everything. All of his guns are a 24-inch range, which makes it kind of tough, but, we'll see how this plays out. The other abilities that he brings with the re-rolling charge and ignore battle modifiers, I don't necessarily think that that's going to be something I'm really going to use too often. And so I'm probably just going to stick on the Farion of the Stars for most of the game. But hey, it's nice to know it's there. Now remember, Xeris does have reanimation protocols now, which means that he can bring back some of the rocks. So of course, never leave home without it. We're bringing a Canoptic Reanimator. Canoptic Reanimator is going to be able to heal a bunch of stuff, do Reanimator sort of things. And especially having Xeris there, I really definitely wanted to have him. I actually did consider at one point not running him for some other stuff that I really wanted to test out. And I felt like he really was going to be kind of extra and a waste for it. But then once I decided to bring Zarek, he came in. So, and I think I may have said Xeris a couple times. And if I did, I apologize. I mean Zarek, the Silent King. I apologize, Mr. Silent King. My bad. I think I might have accidentally said Xeris once in there. Anyways, over back to it. Reanimator, he's great. He's awesome. He helps healing. I think he'll still have some fun in this list where if things don't die, then they're going to get a lot of health back. Also in our 1-drops, we got the Triarch Stalker. So the Triarch Stalker is going to have the particle beamer and basically just knocks away cover. He's a cheap vehicle at 125 points, and again, knocks away cover. Going into some pesky matchups with Marines, that could be helpful. All right, so move over to some of my bigger guns. So we got 3 Canoptic Doomstalkers. I love these guys. And like I said, rolling them around the Silent King really could help a lot. These guys being able to get reroll hits and wound rolls of 1 makes it really strong. On top of that, I will also have my Technomancer. He will have the Sovereign Coronal. Thank you. I had someone correct me on it. Coronal. I will get it right. So the Sovereign Coronal to give +1 to hit to the Doomstalkers as well as other things. He also has the Canoptic Cloak, so he's able to move around and have lone operative, and then he's going to be able to heal D3 extra wounds back on these guys. Now, what vehicle list would not be complete without having 2 Canoptic Tomb Spiders? I took these in a squad, so they're a little harder to remove, and they will still have the particle beamers because I love that combination, and they will also be able to give Feel No Pain to every single one of my vehicles for a 6-up, which honestly could be enough in that just chip shot damage to keep something alive to allow us to get to a reanimation protocol phase and heal some guys up. And last of the vehicles is one that I'm really excited to debut and try out on the channel, and that is my 2 Doom Scythes. So, traditionally, in 40k, flyers have been either absolutely horrible or completely broken. And out of the ones that have been absolutely completely broken, there's only 3 that come to mind. The Storm Raven, the Eldar, what is it called? The Eldar Flyer. I'm sorry, its name is eluding me right now. And the Doom Scythe. So I'll talk about those more in a minute and why those 3 were broken in their time frames. But the Doom Scythe has really not seen any competitive work. In fact, most flyers have not seen any play at all, aside from like the Tau Bomber. Right now, these guys have not seen any play whatsoever. And there may be a reason behind that. 1, these guys are rather pricey at 225 points. And 2, the gun is seeming to be a little bit, a little swingy. So we're going to try these guys out today. I've looked at them a couple of times. They really interest me. Their gun is a very interesting and unique profile with 3 shots that have sustained D3. At D6 +1 damage, hopefully these guys can do a job that I really need them to, and that's hit some vehicles and hit them hard. All right, so out of the vehicles and character column, we do have some other stuff to be able to play the game. We have 2 3-man squads of Scarabs. They're quick, they're cheap, they're fast, and they can complete secondaries. That's really it. And then 2 3-man squads of Tomb Blades, and here comes in with my not being able to get them painted, just because I really haven't used Tomb Blades a lot, and every time they come up, this is where it kind of happens. It's this unique list. I needed something like what they do. To being able to scout and again complete secondaries, because we're going to be trying something different today with the secondaries. All right, so today for my secondaries, I'm actually going to be doing something I have not done at all in 10th edition, and that is set my secondaries. I'm going to be doing engage on all fronts and deploy teleport homers. So these are not ones, am I expecting to max these out? No. But I feel like drawing the cards versus just having these as my set abilities is going to give me more points over the course of the game. This allows me to then take my other units and focus on trying to remove most of Lane's army so that maybe I can then walk in and score heavier on engage on all fronts or even deploy teleport homers in my opponent's deployment zone. I do have 4 fast units to be able to complete these with, and that's going to be kind of the plan. Now, I was mentioned something in there, and I do want to throw this out. Again, this is a lot of testing different things. My initial impression on a lot of the stuff with my list that I'm bringing today is I tried to combine some stuff to get some synergy. I like the Triarch Stalker a lot. I think that in a Marine meta, we may see more of him because being able to knock away the cover helps, especially when you have units that you're shooting at that have cover and Armor of Contempt on them, and they could still get Armor of Contempt for free, depending on the characters involved. So I do feel like the Triarch Stalker, the Canoptic Tomb Spiders, because I love them. I love the spiders. I run them a lot. Canoptic Doomstalkers, again, those are units that I've run a lot and I really do love. Technomancer, those are all kind of things that we do see a lot of as it is, and that I plan on continuing to run in the future. The Silent King. The Silent King has definitely, he's definitely reduced as far as being able to buff an entire army. Reroll hit rolls of 1 and wound rolls of 1 is cool, but it's not 400 plus points cool as it used to be. Not to mention the fact that his big annihilation beams off the Manures is 24 inches. So there's a lot that has reduced him down. However, with some of the reanimation protocols and stuff like that, I've yet to put him on the table. I've been very curious to see how his durability is compared to how poorly the durability actually stood up for the Vault. So I'm definitely very curious to see how he plays out. I don't think he's going to slide his way into any lists anytime soon, simply because of that 24-inch range. The 24-inch range is really, really tough for that, for what he does and his speed and everything else in that. It's very, very limiting, and I think he's just going to get beat up too quickly that we're going to lose the Manures before we get to even shoot them. Now, the Doom Sites. Doom Sites are looking at 450 points. I'm sinking into just those 2 Doom Sites. So almost a quarter of my army is in them. They are something I'm very curious to see and test on the table, because as I mentioned before, flyers usually fall into one of 2 columns. Absolute, and I mean aircraft flyers. Absolute trash, or so broken, get your time in with them now because they're going to get nerfed. And we've seen that in the past. You have the Eldar planes. They were just, there was a time where we could stack minuses to hit. You could get those things up to like -4 to hit. So they were just not able to be killed. And you just fly them around the table, shooting at everything. And they also had their ability to pivot, move, and just so much agility, so much firepower, and completely indestructible because you couldn't hit them. So there was a time for them. We did deal, and I got to give honorable mention to the bombers, the Tau Skyray bomber, I believe it is. The bombers did have a lot of time in the sun too, being able to fly over, drop bombs on things, and do mortal wounds to things that you typically couldn't see and couldn't hit. And they were actually running the Tau meta for a little while. They were able to do a lot of work out of them until some things change and some nerfs happen and some point increases and stuff. And again, like I said, flyers getting knocked away. Now, I also mentioned the Storm Raven. The Storm Raven hit a point, the only time that I can say the Storm Raven was broken, and this is valid enough because it was literally the entire opening of 8th edition, I believe it was. Or, yeah, I think it was 8th edition when we 8th edition with the indexes, when Index Hammer first started. The rule was, he who deploys first goes first. So if you finish deploying your army first, you got to go first. So there was literally Storm Ravens on every single table at major grand tournaments, at the big boys. I believe it was Adepticon, but it might have been Nova. I apologize, it was one of the two, where it was literally like a 60% spread of Marines with planes and flyers, because it was, okay, I'm going to deploy 5 models, and I'm guilty of it too. I'm going to deploy 5 models, and that's it. Oh, look, I deployed first, so I go first. Now I move across the table, destroy everything that's a threat to me, because Drago or what's his name, Dante, giving full rerolls, is just hanging out in the middle. Drago being able to deep strike, and Dante being really, really fast. Drago, I mean Gate of Infinity. For me, I ran Gilliman. I was able to get it down to 3 drops. I put Centurions in a Raven, Dreadnoughts on the back, 2 Ravens, Gilliman, 3 drops, go first, drop them off. They have las cannons. Oh, you have Storm Ravens too? You had 5 guys? Cool. Bam, Ravens are dead from las cannons that reroll hits, reroll wounds, and let me just waddle onto points. So that's why I gotta say Storm Ravens did have their moment of sun, but I guess you could say it wasn't really the Raven. It was broken rule mechanics. So I'll give you that. And I would say that the Tau Bomber, the Eldar planes, and the Necron Doom Sites. The Necron Doom Sites have been in, there was a time before, and the name almost got kicked over into this list, until I reduced the amount of flyers. There was actually a time where it was called Cron Air, and that was just nothing but Necron flyers. And it was a top tier army for a while, and they just would fly around the table, drop some guys off, destroy things with doom sights, and it was a top tier army. Now, that was probably the low end of the top tier for flyers, because the doom sights and the night scythe and all their flyers gave Necrons the ability to play competitively. And if you remove that from the equation, there wasn't enough to hold them, to put them up. Like, it was to a point that I remember I roll a Necron player that I have to play, and I look at their list and I immediately look how many flyers they have. And if the answer was 0, I wasn't worried, because then I knew they were too slow, they had no momentum, and I could simply just kill 1 unit a turn, killing more units with the Death Star style build, and not have to worry about it. And that was that's kind of in that play, is that it was almost like you had to run the flyers or you couldn't really play Crons for a short time, for a pretty decent time frame. Lately, Crons have actually gotten a lot more support from GW, but there was a lot of times where you had one build out of Necrons that wasn't even competitive in the sense of like top tier level win a GT. It was competitive in the sense of you didn't feel like you completely were getting shellacked by an army that probably was still going to outscore and still going to beat you because of other broken rule mechanics. Now, Necrons are a top contender. I mean, we really are. We really can fight with the best of them. And we have a very deep codex. And that's what I'm really trying to emphasize and bring here on the channel, is try and go through every single unit before our actual codex hits. Because some units are going to change, some units are not. And that means that I'm going to be going back through and talking about some of those units again. And I want to start off with a good basis, especially for newer players who are looking at something going, man, this looks cool, but I don't fully understand how it functions in the whole steam of the game. Is it worth it? Is it not? And one of the coolest units that we do have, I remember when we got the Necron Commander deck for Magic the Gathering, there are some custom swamps, and man, it gave me a chill, and I just nerded out at the swamps that have the little night sights in the background flying through there. And they're so cool looking. Such a cool model. I really do love them. The croissants are great. Actually, that was another list that was for a while, was when we could ally Necrons and Chaos. And they were taking Helldrakes and Night Sights, and it was called Chicken and Waffles. I love that. That just for the name alone, gotta love it. But no, we have a very, very, very deep codex, and I want to run through as many of the units as I can and try and get them on the table. Today, me and Lane are going to just be running through our vehicles. He's bringing some vehicles that he wanted to give a try on the channel. Actually, we both are, looks like we're both running 10 and 10 for vehicles, so that's pretty cool. And also trying the secondaries in this way. I've looked at the Doom sites a couple of times, and I'm afraid to spend 225 points on them in a competitive list. I feel like this is a good opportunity to really test them out, see how they do, and if they do fair, maybe shimmy them into a competitive list and see how they go from there. The Doom sites have the capability of being able to take out some of the larger targets that would threaten them, and with the fact that they are in reserve, they might be able to complete that goal. Only time will tell. So guys, I am very, very excited to get some of these models on the table. It's going to be interesting. Lane's bringing his vehicle force, so he's definitely got some anti-tank and some weapons. So we're going to rumble. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.